Hey guys, it's time for another DIY. So, for a lot of us, it is pretty cold outside right now, so I decided to do this super easy update to one of my hoodies using faux fur. For this DIY, you won't need much, and you also don't need to sew anything at all. Yes! So, all you need for this is some craft paper, fabric glue, a tracing wheel, fabric and paper scissors, your jumper of choice, and your faux fur. Let's get started. Using your craft paper and tracing wheel, trace the shape of the pocket whilst it's on a flat surface. You may need to stretch out the bottom if it bunches up a bit. I traced my pocket shape by placing the paper inside the jumper and then tracing the shape over the top. The spikes of the tracing wheel should poke through the top layer and into the paper. This stops me having to pin the paper down and also keeps the curled edges flat. Add a 1 centimeter seam allowance around the edge of your traced out shape and then cut out with your paper scissors. Next, use the paper pattern and place it on the back side of your fur fabric. This is easier to cut as the other side will cut the fur and make a lot of mess. Make sure the fur is also facing the right direction so that the smooth side is facing downwards. Now you've cut out your piece, let's get it onto the jumper. Starting at the top of the pocket, add a thin line of glue to the end of the pocket seam. Place your fur pocket fur side down so that the top edge is laying over the top edge of the seam. That 1 inch seam allowance is coming in pretty handy now. Apply pressure and make sure the glue catches all the fabric edge and then fold over to the right side. Or you can do what I do and just go right ahead and glue the bottom part of the pocket and folding over that seam allowance so that the fur side touches the glue line. Then all you need to do is keep it flat and let it dry. This whole gluing, then tucking in the seam allowance and gluing down the seam allowance is basically what I used for the whole technique. This way you don't actually see any of the glue seam lines and you can use that for the little side parts of the pocket. When you get to the open end of the pocket, you glue once on the pocket edge by putting a thin line of glue onto the front of the pocket. Then glue it flat, and then that little fold over seam allowance you glue to the inside. Now try and be careful because it does get quite messy, and as you see I made a little bit of a mess. I threw a couple of paper pieces into the pocket so that I can press it flat without ruining the jumper. So if you were just looking to do the pocket, then you can pretty much stop here and let it dry completely and your jumper is done. But I am going to go and do the arms. So we use the exact same technique for copying the pocket as we do the arms. This time I only wanted to go halfway, so I measured about halfway, marked it on the paper and then traced around it. I also make sure I traced around the cuff because I wanted to keep the cuffs showing and just have the fur start from the end of the cuff to halfway up the arm. I cut this out on paper as I did the last time, and then what we do is one side is going to be cut on the fold. So fold your fabric and then go ahead and put that folded side against the folded edge of the paper and cut out 2. Once you've cut out your arm pieces, you should have them be a little bit larger than your actual arm in width. This is so that we can do the same technique as last time, doing the glue and then tucking in those edges so that it looks seamless from the jumper. So as you can see here, I'm just kind of measuring, I'm kind of eyeballing it, but you measure where the line is going to start and then you flip it over like we did with the pocket and glue that part down. Flip your sleeve over to the other side and then glue the top part down on that side too. so after you've glued that down, then you want to flip it back so that it is the right side facing, and then we're going to go ahead and join the two long arm seams together. Now hopefully if you've done this right, the folded part where the fold is should go over the folded part of the arm, so the both of the seam edges should end where the seam of the sleeve is. So that is where you're going to do that gluing and tucking motion, so that the seam line is also the seam line of the fur too. And then after that you can tuck and glue the bottom part right underneath the cuff. And that's it, you're pretty much done. It's super easy, guys. And yeah, you can pretty much use this technique. You can do this to the hood, you can do this to, you can make another pocket, you can pretty much do this to the entire jumper if you wanted to. So let's have a look. Here you have one jumper with faux fur accents and no sewing. So that's it for another super easy DIY. Thank you for watching, and if you like what you saw, hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that little notification button as well. And if you haven't already, then subscribe. Woo! I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Bye. Peace.